In this video, I'll uncover the best way to cook eggs in order to optimize nutrition. On this channel, we've been talking about eggs quite a bit. We've been talking about how they're loaded with good healthy fats. We've been talking about how they're nature's multivitamin because they have so many different nutrients in it. But as a result of all these conversations, people have been asking the question of how do you cook an egg in order to actually preserve the good healthy fats in there and the different micronutrients. And so that's what we're going to talk about in this video. We're going to talk about the best way to cook eggs and give you all the details that you need to know. But before we get started, I'm Dr. Zyrowski and welcome to the channel. If you're new to the channel, it's a pleasure to have you here. Be sure to subscribe, hit that bell notification, and join our notification community. That way I can help you excel your health and your life. Let's go ahead and dive in here. So cooking eggs. Now there's a few things that we want to take into consideration here. Now, first of all, when we look at eggs, we have to consider what's in there, right? There's proteins, there's fats, there's a lot of micronutrients in there. And if you didn't see my video on the nutritional breakdown of an egg, I'll go ahead and put it in the link in the description below here. But let's talk about the fats, right? First of all, fats oxidize with heat. That's why when you take different fats, for instance, you don't want to heat and cook certain ones. Like you wouldn't want to put olive oil in a frying pan and heat it up because it'll oxidize that fat. It'll turn it from a good fat to a bad fat, okay? So when we look at eggs in general, there's a lot of good healthy fats in there. There's choline, there's DHA, there's different omegas in there. We want to make sure that we're maintaining those good healthy fats. Another thing that we want to take into consideration here is that when you're cooking the egg, there's better fats to cook it within, right? Like I said, you wouldn't want to cook it in olive oil. And when we look at cooking eggs, most people are actually using butter. That's completely fine if you're cooking it on a low heat. Now, if you put butter in a pan and it turns all brown, then that means it's pretty much oxidized and you've turned a good fat into a bad fat. So if you're going to use butter, you just want to use low heat and not let it turn brown. Now, one of the best things you can use for cooking eggs is typically coconut oil because it actually can take that higher heat without a problem. But when we cook eggs in general, because the eggs have a lot of fats in them, we want to make sure that we're not putting a ton of heat to them. And that's what we'll discuss, the different methods in which you can cook eggs so that you're not really scrambling and ruining those different fats in there. The other thing is almost all nutrients are in the yolk. Like I had mentioned, like I said, a lot of the proteins in the whites. The yolk contains all the different micronutrients, the fat-soluble vitamins, the vitamin Bs, all of that is right in the yolk. And then heat damages micronutrients. So not only do we want to make sure that we're not damaging the fats in there, but we also want to make sure that we're not damaging all the different micronutrients. Let's dive into the first way that most people actually go and eat their eggs, and that's scrambled eggs. So when you go to pretty much any hotel, any place, they're always going to have scrambled eggs there. And the thing is about scrambled eggs is probably considered to be one of the worst ways to actually eat eggs. This is the top way that people eat eggs, but also the worst way to eat eggs. Now, it's not bad, okay? It's not going to be, something that you need to avoid at all costs. But when we just talk about in general, the best way to cook an egg, scrambled eggs is not it. One of the reasons for it is because you're basically scrambling that egg and then you are going and putting a lot of heat to it at all different angles. So it's a high heat method to cooking eggs and is not considered the best. Let's go ahead and look at over easy. Now, over easy is basically when you're going to put an egg in a frying pan and you're going to cook it on both sides. This is not considered a great way to cook the egg either because you're putting a lot of heat to both sides. There's a greater chance of damaging those micronutrients and also damaging the good healthy fats in there. So over easy is also not a great way to cook your eggs. Next is sunny side up. Now this is a better method. Essentially this means that you're going to put the egg in the frying pan, you're just going to cook it on one side and you are not going to flip it and cook the other. You're going to leave the top raw, you're going to leave the yolk raw. So this is good because you're not putting a bunch of heat to the yolk and you're not going to damage those micronutrients in the fat. So this is considered a better way without a doubt. Next, let's talk about hard boiling an egg. Now, hard-boiled eggs are great because they're easy to take on the road with you, they're easy to throw in your lunch, and one of the great things about cooking an egg like this is that you are going to basically leave the shell on and you're going to leave the protective membrane, which is going to help protect the fats and the nutrients and the proteins within the egg. And so when we look at hard boiling, it's not one of the best ways to cook the egg, but it's certainly a better way. And it's a method that we use in our house all the time so that the kids can take hard-boiled eggs to lunch and that kind of thing. So hard-boiled eggs, and now let's go ahead and talk about soft-boiled. Now soft-boiled eggs is a great way to cook eggs. Simply what you're going to do is same method as hard-boiled, but you're going to leave the yolk runny. Okay, so this way we're putting much less heat to it. We are leaving the shell on, we're leaving the protective membrane on, so it's going to protect the proteins, it's going to help protect the micronutrients, and then of course we're not even cooking the yolk, so therefore we know that those fats are in their best state. So soft boil is a great way to cook your eggs. Next here is poached eggs. Now this is a more difficult way to cook eggs, not really something I like to do because it's hard to make it work out well. You maybe need to be a little bit of a better chef in the way of cooking eggs, but poached eggs is a great way to cook eggs as well. Once again, you're putting a lower heat to it, it's in water. You're leaving the yolk runny, you're not oxidizing those fats in there. So poached eggs is a good way to cook eggs, but it's very difficult to do. So it's not one of the top ways that I like to make my eggs. Next is going to be raw. So when we look at eating raw eggs, you simply crack an egg in your smoothie, crack an egg in your coffee and blend it. These are all great ways to consume raw eggs. Some people like this method. It's definitely great because you're leaving all the nutrients raw, you're leaving those fats raw, but once again, it's not everybody's cup of tea. Now, when it comes to the egg, like I said, if you want to learn more about the different nutrient breakdown within it, be sure to check out a video I did. I'll put it right here so you can see that video and learn more about the eggs. And of course, you know, lots of people have been demonizing eggs, saying how unhealthy they are. So you're going to get all the details in that video. So when it comes to how you eat eggs, be sure to put in the comments section below because I'd love to know how you're eating your eggs. I'd like to see what method you're using. Like I said, the #1 way that most people are eating eggs is scrambled. And like I said, none of these methods are bad. It's just that we're looking at the better methods, some of the best ways to do it. So put that in the comment section below. Let me know. Share this video with your friends. Give it a thumbs up. I'd appreciate that. And then also subscribe to the channel if you want to learn more about fitness, weight loss, fasting, and all the topics you love. Hit that bell notification so you never miss a piece of new content. And then check out my other videos over here that are going to help you improve your health. I'll see you in the next video.